Good evening, everyone. I am Anmol. On behalf of ARCA, the Astronomy Club of IITSM Dhanbad, I welcome you all to this session on NASA Citizen Scientist. NASA Citizen Scientist is a program of which many of you are unaware. The Citizen Scientist program, organized by NASA, is meant to encourage collaboration between scientists and interested members in public. Through this program, anyone who has sufficient interest can help make important scientific discoveries. We are sure that this session will be insightful and inspiring. So, without any further ado, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's session, JKS Surya Rao sir. JKS Surya Rao sir is an alumnus of 2020 batch of IITSM Dhanbad and former member of ARCA. He will be explaining his experience with this program as he has been awarded the NASA Citizen Scientist Certificate for his contribution to observations of near Earth objects and main belt asteroids. Now, without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to JKS Surya Rao sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So, hi everyone. I hope everyone are doing fine in this situation. It's really I felt happy when ARCA team members came to me asked for like give me a session on this. So, without any delay, I just want to start the session. Let me share the screen. Yeah. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here we go then. Yeah, guys. So first of all, so anyone has any idea of what is citizen scientist or citizen science or crowd science or whatever term they use? If anyone has some idea, you can unmute yourself and tell something like whatever you know. No wrong answers anyway. So basically, first of all, this is not class, and you are not graded according to this. Like so, you can tell whatever you like. So if anyone have any idea what is citizen science? Okay, I'm not getting any answer. So basically, like citizen science is like a contribution to the science from an unprofessional or not particularly dedicated scientist, rather from a public, like amateur scientist, you can say. So in a simple terms, you can say a contribution to the science from the general public. So today I want to discuss basically these things, like what is citizen science and what all different citizen science projects that are available and how widespread it is. And then we will go to the part of asteroid search camp and what we do there, and I will show you how that campaign happens and how we detect the asteroids and everything. And then I will show you the timeline of campaign. So basically, as I explained before, so citizen science is, like whenever public or, unprofessional or amateur scientists, whoever they are, even uneducated people can contribute something to the science. It's all because like science, our lab in astronomy or something, our lab is everywhere. The sky or the surroundings, they are labs for science. We think like some laboratory which is an institute or university is not should be considered as a laboratory. Everything around us should be considered as laboratory. Then everyone will be a scientist. Hence, we can say like citizen scientist is basically like all the people whoever can have small enthusiasm to contribute something to the science. Either it as small as collecting the data and as big as doing some research work in data science. Can anyone tell me any examples, or if you know, or recent times someone came, many people came on newspaper telling that like they discovered something which they are completely different from scientific community, but they have discovered something. If yeah, can anyone tell any such events or examples? Dora the Explorer. I'll wait for a few seconds and I will explaining the thing. Okay, so anyone know him, Shanmuga Subramanian? is related to Chandrayaan 2. Someone can remember, can unmute yourself and tell that. I am not able to see your this thing, charts. Can't actually tell you. You're answering in charts. I can't see that. You can just unmute yourself and tell me. Okay, I think it's leave on me. So basically, he is the one who said like where the lander is. Unfortunately, when Chandrayaan 2 mission, like the soft landing doesn't happen, then what happened is that we are searching for where it went and everything. So NASA has released some images like before landing and after landing. He's a techie from Chennai. Basically, he is a software engineer. So he analyzed the pictures and he find out a small dot there which is not present before the landing, and he exactly located this latitude and longitude, which NASA gave credit to him for the finding of this exact location. Uh, in this way, as simple as this can also be considered as citizen scientist, like for the for findings or anything that can improve science, we can consider as a citizen science uh, contribution. Okay, I just want to include this one because like this is recent times. Even the citizen scientist term was included in Oxford Dictionary just recently back in 2013 or 2014. Then even European Citizen Science Association made this ethics like how a citizen scientist need to be considered in a science project, and what are royalties should be given to him, and how the contributions get made by public group or individual need to be considered in everything. And and the first time the citizen scientist term is like first used in mid of 19th century in a magazine for ufology. It's a research in unidentified flying objects. Um, but before that, we can also say that when people are collecting data, when there are aeronauts who are people dealing with atmosphere and air, then we have this citizen scientist term, but no one used it widely then. But the first one used in for ufology. So these are few of the ethics that I mean information that I want to give. I felt like this is helpful. So then, coming here, I want to discuss few of the citizen science programs. Now, in this presentation, I will discuss about International Astro Research Campaign. But there are many CS programs out there. Like AstroPy is a Python extension where we can use it for astronomy. It's a package essentially for dealing with astronomy data collected from telescope, because the data coming from telescope is very huge, like it's in petabytes always. If people, you guys remember, for making one black hole image, we need to get the data in trucks. They got the hard disk in trucks so that they can process. They took months to process it, and for such high end data processing, we use AstroPy. And we also have this Habitat Matter is a private community which essentially work on simulating other celestial planets on Earth. So it is based out of Brazil. It simulates Martian environment on Earth, and it collaborate with community and people. So that it involves people in it. You can do a camp there and you live just like you are in Mars. Considering all other features except gravity, you can't simulate here. So in a desert, they do all this, like what all different things they need to survive and just living, modules and everything. They do this, and there are different community CS programs just like this, which simulate other planet environments on Earth itself. And coming to astrophotography, it is widely known thing. We think like photography for just showing the people how beautiful the night sky is. Along with that, there are different CS programs where people can just picture night sky, picturing night sky. Then they can show analyze the data with previous year or before years, so that we can know how much light pollution is happening. And there are for analyzing light pollution or positioning satellites, how crowded satellites are getting into. And these different programs are also there in astrophotography. And not only in astronomy, CS program is very widespread. I'll show you in coming slides or in different website. I'll show you how different the CS programs can be. It's as simple as that: collecting the plastic and analyzing the data and temperature, pH level of oceans at a particular marine locations, and also making communities to spread the science is also considered as CS programs. And analyzing data is one of the important CS program, or this is the first thing as a citizen scientist human has ever done. When aeronauts or
Sir,
when
sir, Gulabi,
Yeah,
sir, please.
hello.
Um, I think, sir, there was a noise that mistaken. He left the meeting, sir. So you may continue, sir.
Okay, so everyone, my voice is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So coming to analyzing data, that's how we can say that CS program has started when people started collecting data of moisture and atmospheric pressure used by the scientists in universities. When like it's impossible for someone to be in all location at the same time to get the data, but people in in America and UK and Northern America, they used to collect the data in different at a particular time, and they used to submit it to the university, and they used to process it, and to know how weather changes and how how this climate and rains happens and everything. So and even counting of butterflies in biosphere, even CS programs are not enormous. CS programs are there in collecting the data of biosphere. Okay. So I just so now in this today we are talk about asteroid search campaign. In this, like, in general, these search campaigns are like this, where they get the image data of night sky from a particular telescope, and they analyze it using certain applications or softwares to find moving objects. Either they might be as simple as asteroids or comets, or maybe some new planets or galaxies or something. So here we are doing asteroid search campaign from PanStars in collaboration with IAU. Here I will we can see, so whenever we make some asteroid discovery, we can mark it and name it, and such discoveries are happen by like from data from different telescopes. So here this pie chart shows what is the percentage of discoveries done by different telescopes. Here we can see Linear is the telescope that used by MIT and that collaboration. And the one that I will show you is from PanStars, which is around 0.7% contribution. It's mostly depending on citizen scientists only. Like they have this soft website where they send the data set once we register, and we get this. Yes, I'll show you how that's done. Okay, timeline I will show you later. Let me share you. So, so this is the application that we use to process the data getting from PanStars. So PanStar is panoramic survey, telescope, and basically it's in Hawaii, and University of Hawaii is in collaboration with it. So we get that data. I'll show you what data we'll get it. We'll get a better picture once it's done. Okay, so here my screen is visible, right? Someone reply me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here we can see this is the images that are captured at 4 instances. I'll tell you why they are capturing in 4 instances or why I'm uploading this. So here in these 4 instances, we get this data. As I mentioned earlier, it's from PanStars. So I'll show you. So I'm just showing here that how we do, like hands-on, like what we do there. So once the data reduction happens, we will collect this. Yeah. So what I did here is I'm playing the 4 images at the one by one. I'll show you what happened next. Guys, you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. See here we can see the white and black background, right? We can change that one also. So see, this is the night sky. So it's like the white one can be a star, a planet, or a simply dirt on the screen. It can be anything. So here we have these 4 images because for a preliminary discovery, we need 4 instances where we can find the particular object moving on it. I mean, in the 4 images, the object should be at different places. Then there are some other consideration and noise ratio, SNR noise ratio, and everything where we can know where we can know whether that a particular object is an object or just a particle or because of refraction or something, some dirt or something. I'll just you guys just try to check is there anything moving or not. I just want you guys to see. For you think I'll just add I mean in this in a night sky there might be some moving objects which are already discovered. For to know those discovered objects, we have this option where we can select the objects which are already discovered and it will mark them. It will mark them and show them like they are moving through while they're moving through the images. You guys see here there is some here a marking moving, right? So this is basically an object which was detected and marked. So here we can see it's moving. So can you guys see any other object which is moving here? I can't see the screen or something, so you can just unmute yourself
Sir,
and tell me.
what is that? The pointer which shows the moving object, uh, but that object is not exactly visible. Like, what exactly is
Yeah,
moving?
it's exactly not visible. Sometimes it's like it's it may be behind. We need to little zoom in into the sky to see that particular object. Sometimes it marks it. Actually, this is not the actual data set. It's a test data set. In an actual data set, you can see a good image like this. You are able to see this one, right?
Yes, sir.
This white dot. As good as that one, you can able to see something marked like that. This is a test data set. I just want to show you a test one. Otherwise, it will be marked. If I take a existing one, someone would have already marked them. So I can't show you. I can't ask you to find something. So I just using a test data set. Sometimes it happen. It's very little. We can't say it, but in some other data set, it may be visible some more clearly or something. So they will tell that at this point particular latitudes and longitudes or azimuth there is some particular object and they'll just mark it.
Yeah.
Just see through the images. You will get to know like how big they will be. Are you able to see any moving object on the screen?
Yes,
Something
sir.
getting disappeared. Where?
Where? Sir, right side lower corner.
Yeah, it is there.
So on the left side,
Yeah, exactly. See, are you able to see now the guy who asked me before?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now
sir.
the
Yeah.
movement is like visible.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a test data, so not everything will be accurate. But see, this is how you can see. You can actually indicate them. Sometimes it will be as dim as this one. You're able to see here, right? This thing. This can be object too. But I'll tell you why we cannot consider that object. So once it's getting played. Okay. So here we'll see few of the aspects like the SNR ratio. The signal level to noise ratio, right? You might have done few problems in that. It's based here. Generally, it is said that SNR ratio should be above 15. Here, SNR which is greater than 5 must be considered as a good reading. So here, for our object, it is like 14.9. So it's a good one. And there is also another metric where we see this graph data, which will be in bell curve. Which basically it shows the roundness of the object or the particular figure of the object. If the figure of the object is so much distorted or it's not able to find a particular path to figure out how the object is, it shows some distorted signal, something like this. Here the dots are distorted, right? So in this way, it will be something like distorted or something. You cannot consider those things as the object. But here, if you see that,
hello, sir.
yeah,
Sir, if take a case of gradation and lensing, same object will appear 4 times or like 3 times. We can't consider that there's like 3 objects. So how will we distinguish it?
it is the same object. You can't
Yes,
consider
yes.
it as, huh.
Let's
Yeah, it is
assume
same
like
object.
let's assume that we are counting the objects on a particular time. So we'll see the same object like in lensed object four places. So how will we distinguish?
So in the 4 places, in the sense of you're telling like the object will be in the four images, right?
Yes, the object is
Yeah,
lensed.
just see how I'm going to mark it and how the thing is done. After that, if you're still having any doubt, you can just ask me that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sure. So now I'll just push the image and we have this path. So it's another thing that we consider is the path mostly it should go in a straight line. So now I'll mark it. We can also perfectly center with these tools where we can, these features, we can particularly tell where it is. And this is the nomenclature that they use. It can be first 3 letters of your group or your individual name. Then it should be 4 numbers. There is some problem with my software, by the way. This pop-up should not come when you're doing this in actual software. There's some problem with my software right now. It's not. So this one we're also having 12.5. Good. Okay. I've done this. Right, I marked it. So now the one who asked question, you are having the same question. Just repeat it now. Like what you're telling.
Me?
Yeah.
So I was telling that if an object is behind a massive object, like take a galaxy, so
Yeah.
the light of the object would be distorted, like it will
Yeah.
appear
Yeah.
around the ring like 2 or 3 times. So how will we distinguish it? Our eyes will see like there's 3 objects, but there's just one.
Yeah.
How
Of
will we
course, sometimes
distinguish?
we cannot. It's very. I saw few cases where, like, I'll show you. I think there must be a sun or here something like that. Some bright object is like this. Like this is enough. This could be anything. Like it may be a planet or as big as like star or something. Sometimes we miss that. We may not be seeing it, but the data is processed by other ways, so they will get it. But very few times they get it. Like if a particular object, for suppose you're asking about asteroids or something, right? So
No,
asteroids will
no.
be close to us.
You are asking about the night sky. So if we watch a particular area of a night sky, and by
Yeah.
instance there is an object in between our eyes and the object we are watching, then the light of the object will be distorted. It will like appear around like a disk, because the light will be distorted by the mass of the galaxy. So how will we distinguish
Yeah.
it? Like you'll see like it's two objects, but it's just one, the distorted image. That will be like uh, distinguish the distorted image of the
Yeah,
distorted
that
images.
that is taken care by our telescope itself. We have some laser technique that we use, which
Okay.
where actually like all these images that we are getting nowadays through ground-based telescopes. Ground-based telescopes. This should not be happening actually before unless we go to into space, because we can't get many of the we get many distortion of the light rays because of atmosphere. But we
Mm.
have this technique which is uses lasers. So they
Okay.
calculate what is distortion happening in the atmosphere by calculating the reflection of the laser, right? You're getting that, right? They send the laser, so that
Okay.
laser will distort it and will be reflected back to the receiver. So
Okay.
the amount of distortion happened there, the same distortion they make it in what do you say, in the glass, the reflection glass in the telescope.
Okay.
So according to that, it's like what we say. So when you make the same distortion in the glass itself, so the image will be clear. Actually, before
Okay.
this technique, we are not able to see anything clearly from telescope. There used to be huge limit, but nowadays the ground-based telescopes become so good. They're become so better than the space telescopes.
Mm.
If just imagine if you want to keep some as delicate thing as telescope into space, it used to cost so much. For something like that, now we are doing Hubble telescope things. But now because of this technique, we are able to do this. The distortion and everything already calculated, recalculated using that laser, and then we will get the image properly and we can process it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, this used to be there, what you're telling, but it's not like the distortion because of the gravity or something. But that atmosphere itself, we used to do much distortion.
No, sir. If the object is very far away from us, then the gravitational distortion is very
Yeah, but
discrete.
generally
Clearly
what
visible.
we are seeing is like main asteroid belt after the Mars or something. These are the images that I'm showing here is
Okay.
mostly the asteroid which can come under influence of Earth gravity. They can hit us or something.
Okay.
Mostly we are dealing with them.
Okay. So it's not a far away image.
Not far,
Just
not that far.
okay.
We
Then
need multiple calculation for to figure that out actually.
yes.
We need to take multiple data.
Then the lensing
We
is
can actually get the data, but you need something like data science, a little bit of something. With that, you can do, not with naked eye. Yes. Nowadays, actually, like even naked eye astronomy, even if you do some higher studies in that, essentially what you will learn is some good skills in data science.
okay, sir.
Nowadays it
So
happened like that. It's not no more. It's like you can see the enjoy the beauty of the universe just with your naked eye. If you want to go beyond certain level, you need to
mm,
enter into computer science and do the stuff.
okay, sir.
Yeah.
Previously I thought that it was image very far away, so I
No,
asked the
no,
question,
no.
but
Yeah, that's a
but
valid question, but we have some limitations here.
yes, there's the it's not too far, so we can ignore the
Mhm.
gravitational lensing. You can see. Okay, thanks, sir.
Not so much gravitational lensing. It doesn't affect it. I mean, we are not onto such objects. Even when we go there, instead of gravitational lensing,
Yes.
we do this one. What's the name? We use we use gravitational lensing itself. What is it? Dipping of the light detection to know the presence of an object. Even the guys who got 2019 or 18 Nobel Prize in astronomy, right? They have detected something like in 1980 in the same way. They got the dip in the light, right? Whether you say it's not gravitational lensing, but it's basically blocking of light, right? And they're able to find out the first extraterrestrial planet,
Okay.
first detection in that. I don't think it cannot be happening this way. It needs some
Okay.
high level data science skills or
Yes. Yes. In this
back
case,
then
it
they
can't
used
happen.
mathematical skills. Now they are using software simply.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. Okay. So moving on. See, sometimes we can see these screens. This light ray, right? You're able to see this. The light ray of some star. So guys, try to find out if you are able to see any moving object or anything. No.
Yes, sir, we can see the light ray moving there.
Yeah, thank you. That's like
Sir, what is SNR?
signal to noise ratio. Which year are you studying right now?
Sir, I am in college, first year.
Oh, first year. Hmm. Welcome, welcome. Don't worry. Days are before you. Which branch are you from?
Sir, I am in BSc.
BSc, which one?
Physics. BSc
Ah,
Physics.
then you'll definitely get to know this. SNR ratio. It is there everywhere, even in instrumentation and all these things. Basically, it's a signal to noise ratio. You can say, in simple terms, it's a how good the signal is. If SNR ratio is good, then signal is good. If ratio is low, the signal you're getting is distorted. As simple as.
Yes, sir.
So, is there? So in this way, okay, we got one right. That's enough for you guys to explain this. Oh, there must be another object or something. Yeah. Yeah. So see, once we got some data like this, we need to create MPC report file, minor planetary control. So here we have this information about our findings. Then it's my name and what is the like group I am from and what is the country and everything. It's here, and these are observers who got this data. And by the way, this the amount of data that you're observing here. Here essentially like the whole picture. This whole picture is like a part of a sky. When you look the sky through your hand, the amount of sky that is hidden by your thumbnail, that is the part of the sky that you're seeing right now. So that is the amount of picture that is in Pan-STARRS it's like 1.4 mega around it's like thumb size, I guess. Yeah, thumb. I think 1 degree of the sky, I guess. 1 degree of the sky is what we are analyzing here. So here, once we get the MPC report, we need to submit it to them, IASU. They will see whether this can be considered as a preliminary discovery or not. Once we got this preliminary discovery, we will be essentially given the they will be those objects will be given the tag in numbering, and they will be kept under observation for almost 3 to 6 years. Uh, so here, this coming to the application, one thing is that we can also, there are multiple things that we can change here. Coming to this observer details and your details, what is a telescope, and what all is, which server we are sending this, and we can also directly mail this report if we mention the mail and everything. Few of the features that are available, once you are using this, you can get to know about it. Okay, coming back to our presentation. Yeah. So this is the timeline of campaign. So once we start such campaign, we first register for the campaign as in a group, or we associated with a particular team in a particular organization, or individual. We can do that. Here we are only talking about IASU. There are multiple aspects of campaigns where we can do that. And once we got the preliminary discovery, we submit an MPC report, and they verify it in 10 days. Generally takes in 1 month as they do in bulk. And then they give us like, okay, this is, you have done a preliminary discovery. Once the preliminary discovery done, you need to wait at least for, like 3 to 6 years. What they do is they just mark that particular object, and they try to get the which orbit it is moving. Once they got to know, okay, it's a regular object moving in a particular orbit, fixed orbit, then they change the designation with the year and some name XYZ or something. Then they determine, they monitor the path and how it is happening, and they will upload this data to this official monitor catalog, which is like MPC only, like Minor Planetary Control, which is under IAU, International Astronomical Union. So once they give it, the lucky part is once we get the provisional discovery, we can also name that particular object. We can also name whatever you want. There is some serial number before it, and after that we can name something, whatever you want. You can name Krish, or you can name Salman Khan, or whatever you want. You can name anything. So this is essentially the timeline of the campaign that I showed you. Okay, so this is how the certificate looks like. I just want to add a certificate and how this done. So here we have the name. There are multiple campaigns that I'm been through, and this is one of the thing. And for just want to show you guys what all this website and where we get this. So this is IASU official website. So after this, ARCA guys are going to register for this. So if you guys are in contact with the ARCA team, they will take you through this. They will register for this, and they will give you data, and you can also do this. So it can be a starting point for your citizen scientist programs, because I'm also not anything related to it. Particular astronomy right now. I'm working as tech IT manager in an organization, but still I am able to do this. Even my friend is there, one of ARCA team member. He is there in Indian Institute of Space Science Technology. So he's working on some astronomy data. So I'm trying to help him with some data science thing. So in this way, we can, we are trying to do some research project, remotely. Like he can do from the there from his college. So he will send me the data and I will process it. In this way, you can start doing something when you are in free time, as simple as this, or you can also do contribution as a research project. They are trying to find out right, electromagnetic data getting from other celestial bodies and galaxies. They want to process that data, so I'm just trying to do how we can process that using Python. So in that, this is starting step for your citizens, not their hobby, I'll say. So for hobby, you can do it. So this is IASC portal here. So this is Pan-STAR data. Once after this, you can go through it. So as I mentioned earlier, see, like citizen science is not only particularly to astronomy, it is widespread everywhere, like in different departments and functions, we can see it. This has to be downloaded. Internet is so slow. Sorry, it's getting downloaded. So Juniverse is like one, yeah. So there are different kind of projects that are mentioned here. See, there are like arts, biology, climate, history, language, literature, medicine, nature, physics, everything. In every aspect you can do. Actually, there's bad thing is that there used to be some different meteor campaign also used to be there in this. It's not there. See, here we can get in, and you can also see how to find out dark energy explorers. As simple as that, you can just simply find, with naked eye you need to find out what is the color or something with process data, or you can get the data. It's freely available for many citizen scientist projects. If you're a computer science engineer or who is related in that, you have a huge opportunity here. You can simply get the data, and you can just use process the data and just simply do that. It can be a project for you guys. So here we can do that. There are multiple projects here related to that. There are few projects, after few years, after a few months or something, they will close this project without data. So if you find something is interesting here, you can just dive in and do it. This is also sister or yeah. So here it's basically for USA guys, but can virtually you can do it. Anyone can do it. So that's why I want to show this. You can also go for this website, and there are multiple citizen scientist projects that are going on. See, you can find out the spiral graph and how to do it, and everything is mentioned here. So Globe at Night is one of the website. It's web app. Basically, like if you enter your location, you get your particular night scale location here, and you can just send the image there. You can tell them how bright the image is seen here, and what everything, and you can send that data, and they will see the data so that they can calculate what is the air pollution, or how the climate is changing, particularly at that location. So how free, they get to know how whether people are able to do a free naked eye observation or not. The multiple processing of the data, it's not limited to this what I'm telling. And I mentioned earlier, right, AstroPy. This is one of the packages that is in Python, which is basically essential used mainly for the astronomy data. Even the project that I mentioned here, we are using AstroPy for that. So there is also GSOC. So you guys must have heard about Google Summer of Code. There is a Open Astronomy organization which is working on basically for AstroPy. So if you work with AstroPy now till December, if you work on it, and if you apply for Open Astronomy, you may get a chance of Google GSOC 2021. So there are multiple ways where citizen science can help you in building a better career, and getting involved into science. So this is their it's a community organization. You can say they have this open GitHub link also you can go. The thing that I mentioned earlier, that Habitat, and show you that. So this is basically the Brazil one. So you can see they make a deserted area into a into Martian base, and they also go around with only with helmets, and just like astronauts do in this way. It's in Brazil, but you can also do some virtual campaigns with them, where you will be assigned as a lead for a particular department in the particular planet. Like for suppose you are going to Mars, just think you are in Mars, and you have some group of people. Then you need to how you will collaborate with them to make to get the keep the stocks, how you producing oxygen, how you are managing the water available there, how are you trying to use the resources, and how are you trying to generate electricity, how are you using the what about sanitization, everything. You can be one of the lead in virtually. They have started as a NGO, it's a organization in Brazil, but later on they moved as virtually. There are many organizations like this, and just this is one example, which is Habitat Map is one organization like that. There are many that are mostly are in UK and US. can also go with that. So these are like list of CS projects that I got, which are active right now. So you can just go through it, and you can have multiple opportunities with it. So for if you think for a hobby point of view, you can do anything. But if you want some CS, myself, if I'm interested in CS, I'll go for AstroPan, something like that. I'll try to process data, and I'm doing that one. So you can do anything that you like. So that I conclude my presentation here. Yes, guys. So that's what I want to tell about citizen science. So citizen science or astronomy search campaign is not like a essential thing. It's basically starting point that I want to tell you guys. So once you start with it, you just explore the things and try to contribute to the science in as possible as you can. Like it's not required that you must be in a science thing. That we as an hobby we can also contribute to the science community, which essentially helps in science understanding how people are getting the science, or how they can use it for society, and it also increase people understanding of science as time goes. So okay, just stop sharing right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask by unmuting yourself.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it is important to know data science for doing or analyzing any astronomical data.
Not as not required actually. There are few campaigns where they give you analyze data. There you can do it. There are multiple ways that you can contribute. And if you want data science, it's not like you need to learn everything. There are particular syntaxes or particular packages only. You can just, if you sit for 1 week around with concentration, you can just do that. It's no big deal in that. It's not required that you must be knowing this. What do you say? Data science to do all this.
And sir, I want to make a career in astrophysics, astronomy. That is. So, sir, can you guide me regarding it?
So, which year you are in, and what is the branch?
Sir, I am currently doing BSc in physics.
Okay, first year, right? I'm assuming you are in first year or second year. So it's like if you want to make it, see, if you want to make an astrophysics, it depends. Like it goes like theoretical or experimental and everything. Um, yeah, you can go for MSc. Uh, yeah, as you're in BSc, you can easily get MSc. For that, try to go for some interns or summer schools, where you can easily get it. As you are in BSc physics, they mainly try to select pure science guys like you over engineers. In even in engineering, they particularly select particular engineers like engineering branches like engineering physics. Once you can apply for that, and you just start doing it right now, you'll get a better view. It's not about going for astrophysics or something. You will get a better knowledge whether you can do it or not. Once you get sufficient knowledge to judge whether you need to take that path, you'll go ahead, no problem with that. But if you want to, if you ask me the path, I will ask you to do a MSc in a IST or some good
Yes, sir, I want to
colleges which are related to astrophysics, astronomy. So there, then you can go ahead.
thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions, guys? So we have one question here. How did you
Yeah.
become aware of NASA Citizen Scientist? How did you aware of this program?
Yeah, that's a big deal. It started when I'm trying for this Gabe, right? I brought you Gabe. Gabe Gabriel for the college. He's a NASA former engineer. So, well, contacting him like in the discussion, and well, I contacted a few of the organization which are dealing with him. Then I got in contact with them, like SSCRD in Bangalore. And there are like we bought this to the moon project. And while walking in the Arca only, I able to know all these things. Then I came to know, they have this program. Then I just applied, and we have done that. I'll make sure you guys also start that. Don't worry. I'll make you guys also register for that, and you guys also guide, involve everyone. It's actually interesting for whoever interested in astronomy. They can just do it. They can simply see with this project. You can simply know that whether you are really interested in astronomy or not. It's like say anything, you need to do it. Once you got to know, you'll understand whether you really love astronomy or you just want to say that.
So we have another question. What non-technical skills did you learn from the experience?
Non-technical skills. So there are many. Like uh, you mean, I understand that you're asking about soft skills. I can say like how to interact with people. That's essentially important part, because you deal with many guys. I have to mail different professors over there. I mean, it's not like you will learn these things in I'm telling in general of CS projects. Whenever you're working on some CS project and community citizen science projects, you need to deal with professors. So if you go to some particular professor, someone, you need to have some background to tell, okay, I'm in particular branch, so I will work on it. But in citizen science, it's not like that. You are not at all related to it, but you are telling like I will do it because I'm interested in it. So how you will convince them, like that's the thing that you will learn. It's not like they will definitely accept it, but I'm just telling like you will make you understand that, okay, people will also understand your feelings or whatever you want to convey, even though you're not having on that thing on your paper.
Yeah, so that's great to hear. So we have one more question in chat box. Is there any way people from robotics background can contribute who are not particularly inclined towards data science?
Yep, many ways. See, in astronomy, right, whatever you do, you can contribute. Whatever, literally whatever you do, it's like adhesive. Like whatever engineering or science, you can really contribute, because even for the telescopes, in robotics, I mean, I'm taking it as automation, not robotics. So when we say automation, like whenever we fix the telescope, it needs to move in a very slight solid angle, a small angle, so that it can point out to the night sky. It cannot be done without a proper understanding of what we say, step motors, which is essentially robotics part. So then connecting it with software and everything. So yeah, I mean, anything you guys, you can contribute in this way. Even if you are from our college, you can help ARCA team to install the telescope and do that automation that I have to do.
Yeah, there is one more question. How do you manage your times now in first year? Regular studies seem to so overwhelming, and the project you have shown don't seem like an hour-long task.
Mm, so where is that? Missed that question.
So in the chat box.
Okay, how do you manage your time, sir? Now in first year, regular studies seems so overwhelming. In other projects, shouldn't seems like an no, not like hour longs. It's like the time that you take to swipe on your Instagram, as simple as that. Instead of Instagram, you can just simply do this. It will do the work. Okay. Question is, sir, sir, in the photos of sky that you earlier, what was the ray of light? Okay, no, it's not a comet. It's just distortion of the starlight. You can say our sun. Sometimes you can see other suns also, where like there is no sun there, but generally like our sun rays or something like that. I told you, right, like even a small dirt or speckle of dust, you can, it seems like a particular object over there. Because everything just reflects light, right? So it seems like that. It's not a dirt or something. I mean, it's not comet. It's simply a ray.
Yeah. If you guys have any other questions, you can post it on chat box or you can unmute yourself to ask it.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like we discover exoplanets while they're transiting their host star, so we can just
Yeah.
discover the dip in their intensity. So like we do the same method for asteroid or something else.
No. Asteroid is, first of all, asteroid is very small object. I mean, it depends whether you're asking about asteroids in our colony. I mean, in our solar system, in our other solar system.
So in our
If
solar
you're
system,
asking
in
about
our solar.
in our solar system, we simply get the reflection of the light, and that's enough. See, you are able to see the Pluto and Uranus also, right, from the reflection of the light.
Oh, yes, but they
As
are
simple as
actually big. So like these asteroids are some asteroids are also very small. So how do we detect them?
see, we can able to detect as small as 4 kilometers diameter. Actually, we can do that. I mean, mostly the all these asteroids are there in main asteroid belt. Even we are able to detect pattern for this, belt beyond Uranus and Neptune. Actually, we can do that. Sun is very powerful. That light reflection is awesome. We can actually detect them. It's no dipping of anything is required. But if you ask me in the other solar system, I'm not sure about, because asteroid as small as that, they can do the dip of the light, but I don't think whether we can. I never saw that case. Always, I mean, whenever I studied something, it's always about some planets as big as, you know Mercury or something bigger than that.
So do we this same process for the objects in the Kuiper belt as well, or it's
No,
some
no.
other process?
Hyperbelt. See, this is like, um, mostly all the discoveries are happening in main asteroid belt only. All these with this process. With that process, can we do means, yeah, we can do if you have a better telescope and if you can go till that point, and if you can do that, yes, do that. But instead, they go for a, now we have data science. It's that can do it. No one do that, I guess, maybe.
So we have another question here. How much do we need to know about Python? I mean, which libraries for astronomy and from where we can learn and practice them?
See, everything is on internet. Go to Google or YouTube. Just type Python. You'll get them. Or Udemy or Coursera. Just as simple as that. Even people in our college, no one ever studied something from class. Everything is from internet. YouTube, Google, and they are our teachers. So just go there and just learn. If you know some language, Python is easy. Or you need to know data structures, and obviously know some coding and everything. All goes in data structures, and along with Python, basic packages, math and pandas and everything. That's it. Like, once you see Python and install Jupyter and want to do something, you will get to know. Just start with Python. No worries in that.
So any library specifically for astronomy we need to learn for
That
that?
I mentioned here, right? AstroPy.
Okay.
It's essentially for that.
Okay. So
Okay, I did. You're not able to see my screen, right? It's AstroPy. AstroPy. PY. Yeah.
I guess we have not more any other questions. Okay, so thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights.
Sure.
I am sure the attendees would take inspirations from you. So we will end our session here. Thank you all for your participation. Do follow us on our social media handles. In links are in description of our YouTube channel of this video. And stay tuned. Thank you.